Hi guys! So today we are going to be talking about composition of functions. Sometimes you have to take two functions and compose to them into a new function, okay? And the notation for this looks just like this, okay? We read this as a composition of f and g of x, or, which is most common, we read it as of f of g of x. Okay, when you see a function that is nested like this, when one function is inside of the other function, we have to first always calculate the inside function and then take the output of that function and plug it into the outside function. Okay, so this sounds kind of complicated, but you will see on an example that's actually quite simple. So here's an example, okay? We're given two functions, f of x equals x plus 3 and g of x equals 5x. And we are asked to find f of g of 0. So, like I just said before, we always start with the function that's on inside. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first find g of 0. Okay, which means we're going to take the function g of x and replace x with 0. So in this case, it will be 5 times 0, which equals 0. Okay, and then after we calculated our g of x, we're going to take this output, the 0, and plug it into the function that is on the outside, which in this case is f of x. So now we're going to take this output and plug it into f of x. And since f of x was x plus 3, I'm going to replace the x with 0. So 0 plus 3 equals 3. And that's our answer. Let's look at this second example. Okay, so same thing. We have the same two functions, f of x equals x plus 3 and g of x equals 5x plus 3. We are asked to calculate f of g of 2. So once again, we always start with this inside function. So we're going to first calculate g of 2. So g of 2 means I'm going to take the expression for g of x, which is 5x, and I'm going to replace x with 2. So 5 times 2, which equals 10. And then we are going to take this 10 and plug it into our outside function, which was f of x. So we are going to take this output 10 and plug it into f of x. So since f of x is x plus 3, I'm going to replace the x with 10. So 10 plus 3, which equals 13. Okay, so I think it's not that complicated. Just remember that you always complete this inside function first. Now, a lot of cases, it would be tedious for us to just keep doing that if we wanted to plug in multiple numbers into our functions. So to avoid that, we are going to take the two functions and we're going to first figure out the general formula for the composition. So here's an example. I have two functions, f of x equals 2x minus 1 and g of x equals 3x plus 2. And we are asked to find f of g of x. So how are we going to do that? We are going to take, just as we did it before, we're going to take this function 3x plus 2, okay? That's our inside function, okay? That's the one that goes right here. And we are going to substitute that function with g of x's. So this will give me f of 3x plus 2. Okay, so I plugged in the entire expression. And now what we are going to do is we're going to take this expression and replace the x in f of x. So I am replacing the x in f of x with 3x plus 2. Okay, just like this. And then all we have to do is just simplify. So I'm going to distribute. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 2 is 4 minus 1. And we can combine like terms here. So the final answer is 6x plus 3. Okay, so there you have it. I hope this was helpful. Okay, just use this and then check out our practice problems.